Drawing and making stories can be one of the most difficult things ever. By blending the written word and symbolism, we must study the past in order to teach the future. Welcome to Farlook Studios. My name is Ray Raynette, and I'm a self-published illustrator and writer for my own comic book magazine titled Junket: Hidden Worlds Revealed. On this channel, we look back at different forms of art and see what it is we can take away from it in order to apply it to our day-to-day lives. As a practicing artist, I always look back to see what it is I could reference or find inspiration from and apply it into my modern-day work. If you guys like the content I make here, don't forget to hit a thumbs up, subscribe, and put notifications on to stay updated. Now, on to the video.
Fantastic Four, they're a conglomerate of people, different types. My job was to sell books. I couldn't and I wouldn't make the same bunch twice. And so the Fantastic Four became a conglomerate of people who did different things. The readers have associated me with Ben Grimm. I think in a way they're right. Now Ben Grimm talks and acts just like I do. But of course, you know, he's a monstrosity and I can still wear a suit and look like everybody else. Ben Grimm is a natural guy. For showy purposes, perfect. He certainly does the things that I wish that I could do. He can tear an ash can up like we do paper, you know. He can rescue people in manners that we can't. He can rip off the side of a building and maybe get the tenants out because it's going to explode. Ben Grimm can do it. Other people, it would take many, many hours. Ben Grimm did was shorten that time and solve the problem quicker than most people could.
While I was working for Marvel, the first 20 years or so, I was just doing regular comics. Then, after a while, I really wanted to quit because I felt, while Martin Goodman was a great guy and a good publisher, I didn't like really what he wanted me to do. He felt comics were just for young kids or stupid adults. And he used to say to me, "Remember, Stan, don't use words of more than 2 syllables. Don't have too much dialogue. Get a lot of action. Don't worry about characterization." And that was fine. I was doing it, and the books were doing well, and I had a steady job, but it wasn't satisfying. Because I really think of myself as a reasonably good writer. I like to write. So I really wanted to quit and try something else. And I remember Joan said to me, "You know, Stan, if you want to quit, before you do, why don't you do one book the way you would like to do it? The worst that happens is Martin will fire you, and so what? You want to quit anyway." So coincidentally, at that time, he had found out that our competitor, DC Comics, which called itself National Comics in those days, they had done a book called the Justice League of America, a group of superheroes, and it was selling very well. And he said to me, "Stan, why don't you do a book about a group of superheroes?" So I figured this is my chance to do it my way. So I came up with something I called the Fantastic Four, about 4 superheroes. But instead of making them heroes who wore costumes, I figured I'm not going to give them costumes. Because I always felt if I had a superpower, why would I want to put on a costume? First of all, I'm too much of a show-off. I'd want everybody to know it's me. I would never wear a mask. And why would I need a costume? If I could jump over a building, I don't have to wear a colorful costume. I'll just jump over the building. At any rate, I didn't give them costumes. And I tried to make them real characters living in the real world. The hero wasn't just a perfect guy. He was a fellow like me. He talks too much. He's a scientist, quite boring. He was always boring the others because when he explained anything, he went on forever. And one of the other guys was always saying, "Will you shut up?" And the obligatory teenager in the group, instead of just like Robin with Batman, who just runs around and fights the bad guys with him, I made this teenager a guy who didn't want to be a superhero particularly. He was like I would have been when I was a teenager. He wanted to go out with girls and ride a sport car and so forth. And the girl, instead of an obligatory female who always has to be rescued and doesn't know who the hero really is, she was the hero's fiance. She knew who he was. They all knew who they were. And she also had a superpower that was as good as anyone else's. So she was a fighting member of the team. And the 4th guy was a monster. Something had happened to him and he became very ugly and incredibly strong. And I used him for both pathos and humor because he was always fighting with the others, and not physically, but verbally, always insulting them and yelling at them, and he was hot-tempered. And he was always picking on the Human Torch, that was the teenager, who was always picking on him, and I got a lot of comedy out of them. I called him the Thing, and he became by far and away the most popular member of the group. Instead of having them live in a fictional place like Metropolis or Gotham City, I plunked them right down in New York City. And because I knew New York City, I could write about New York City, and I figured, why not let them live in a real place? Well, the book did wonderfully. It sold great. But a funny thing happened. I got a lot of fan mail, and we had almost never gotten fan mail before. And all the letters said essentially the same thing. We love the book. It's the greatest. We'll keep buying it forever. You're the greatest writer. Jack is the greatest artist. It's terrific. But if you don't give them costumes, we'll never buy another issue.
Today, we'll be analyzing the innovative stories of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee within the early issues of Fantastic Four. Originally published on November 1st, 1961, Fantastic Four was unlike anything they had ever made before. Marvel Comics, originally called Atlas and Timely Comics, would often follow trends. They would previously publish all different kinds of genres, including love, romance, mystery, horror, science fiction, and westerns. Usually, these books used to be anthologies, meaning collections of stories, sometimes brand new, sometimes reprinted from older ones. At the time, Marvel was almost unrecognizable to the company that we know today. This was before the time of the superhero. Although DC Comics did have Superman and Batman, who were more popular in the 1930s, it wasn't really until the 1960s that superheroes became a smash hit. Comic books really did take a hit during the 1950s, primarily due to the Comics Code Authority, which began in 1954 to seemingly make comics more safe for young readers. This was a movement spearheaded by Seduction of the Innocent, which is a book by a German-born American psychiatrist, Frederick Wertham. In his book, he would warn that comic books were a negative form of literature and corrupted the youth. Most comic books were then persecuted from there on, and the Comics Code Authority brought down popular crime and horror titles such as Tales from the Crypt and other EC comics. This story has since become infamous, being broadcasted on live TV and on radio. It was really about the censorship of the comic book medium. Since then, stories had become more tame in nature and tended to be less grotesque and less garish since the previous aforementioned ones. Although they burnt many books in public places, the industry continued to grow and adapt to the regulations. All of the major companies, including DC and Marvel at the time, had to change trajectory and fill in the void that was left open. Atlas Comics, later rebranded to Marvel Comics, began to put out new books and titles that fit the mold of the restrictions at the time. From 1959 to 1961 and onward, they began to put out titles such as Tales to Astonish, Amazing Adult Fantasy, Amazing Adventures, Tales of Suspense, Strange Tales, and Journey into Mystery. All of these titles had their own respective stories and would then branch out into the Marvel Universe that we know today. I will make a separate video speaking more directly on these specific titles, but on today, I wanted to highlight one of the best books that came out during this period, and it was in 1961 when Marvel truly started to change the game. Although Fantastic Four #1 was released alongside the other titles mentioned, it began bringing the company into a completely different trajectory. The year 1961 marked a pivotal moment with the introduction of the Fantastic Four by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. This groundbreaking comic book series not only revolutionized the superhero genre, but also laid the foundation for the Marvel Universe as we know it today. The Fantastic Four is a team consisting of Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, and the Thing. These were a product of the creative collaboration between Lee, the writer, and Kirby, the illustrator. Kirby would draw epic and dynamic illustrations, while Stan would give a grounded, more comedic approach to writing heroes. Instead of being like every other superhero story from the 1930s, where it's just good versus evil, Stan Lee would breathe life into the characters by making them feel more like an actual family, grounded in the real world of New York City. The concept of Fantastic Four was inspired by a variety of sources, including science fiction, horror, and adventure comics. Lee and Kirby sought to create a team of superheroes who were more relatable and flawed than the traditional heroes of the past. The Fantastic Four were not born with superpowers, instead they gained their abilities through a cosmic accident during a scientific expedition. This origin story allowed for a more grounded and realistic approach to superhero storytelling, mixing in science fiction and monsters all in one. One of the key elements that set the Fantastic Four apart from any other superhero team was their focus on interpersonal relationships and character development. The team members were not just superheroes, they were also friends, family, and lovers. Their interactions with each other, both inside and out of the superhero identities, added depth and complexity to the series. And although Kirby's illustrations does take center stage, people don't give enough credit to the brilliance in Stan's writing. It was both simple, grounded, but educative. Books at the time were just cranked out for children, whereas Stan realized that they had readers of all ages, so instead of spoon-feeding and pandering to the audience, he instead allowed for them to feel involved in the story itself. The Fantastic Four also introduced groundbreaking concepts to the superhero genre, such as the concept of a superhero family. The Invisible Woman in particular challenged traditional gender roles and provided that women could be a powerful and capable superhero. The success of the Fantastic Four truly paved the way for the creation of other iconic Marvel characters, including Spider-Man, the X-Men, and the Avengers. The team's enduring popularity is a testament to the creativity and innovation of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who continue to be celebrated as the architects of the Marvel Universe. The Fantastic Four's rogue gallery is filled with memorable villains, each with their own unique motivations and powers. Dr. Doom, the team's archenemy, is a brilliant scientist and sorcerer who seeks to rule the world. Other notable villains include the Mole Man, the Puppet Master, and the Frightful Four. The team's adventures often took them to exotic locations and introduced them to bizarre alien races. These cosmic elements added a sense of wonder and mystery to the series, expanding the scope of the Marvel Universe. The Fantastic Four's exploration of space and other dimensions paved the way for future Marvel stories, such as Silver Surfer, Galactus, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Fantastic Four's impact extended beyond their own series. Lee and Kirby's innovative approach to superhero storytelling revitalized the comic book industry and inspired a new generation of creators. One of their most significant contributions was the revival of classic characters like the Submariner and the Human Torch, who were originally published and created by Marvel's predecessor, Timely Comics. By reimagining these Golden Age characters for a modern audience, Lee and Kirby breathed new life into the Marvel Universe. The character of Namor the Submariner is a timeless anti-hero. The character was then brought back and reintroduced in the Fantastic Four number 4 from 1962. This marked a significant moment. This enigmatic and powerful character, a mutant with aquatic abilities, would go on to become one of Marvel's most enduring anti-heroes. Created by Bill Everett in 1939, Namor was originally a character for Timely Comics, Marvel's predecessor. He was a mysterious man within the depths of the ocean, fighting for vengeance against his people. Lee and Kirby continued the storyline as though he had never left, and was secretly hiding away among the humans. In his initial appearance in the Fantastic Four, Namor is portrayed as a brooding and conflicted figure. As the ruler of Atlantis, he is torn between his loyalty to his underwater kingdom and his growing affection for the surface world. This internal struggle adds depth and complexity to his character, making him a fascinating and relatable figure. Namor's reintroduction to the universe not only expanded it, but added a new level of cosmic scope to the superhero comics. His aquatic abilities allowed for thrilling adventures that took place both on land and under the sea. The contrast between the vibrant, colorful world of the surface and the dark, mysterious depths of the ocean provided a striking visual backdrop for the stories. The conflict between Namor and the Fantastic Four was a classic battle between nature and technology. Namor, as a representative of the natural world, often clashed. This dynamic allowed for exploration of environmental themes and the impact of human activity on the planet. Namor's character has evolved over the years, but his core identity as a complex and conflicted figure remains constant. He is a powerful force of nature, capable both of great good and great destruction. His tragic backstory and his struggle to reconcile his Atlantean heritage with his newly found human connections make him a compelling and enduring character. The Human Torch was also a character that was brought back, originally invented by Carl Burgos back in 1939. Human Torch, alongside Captain America and Submariner, were known as the Big Three within Timely Comics. The conflict between Namor and the Human Torch was rooted in a fundamental difference in perspective. Namor, as a ruler of Atlantis, viewed humanity as a threat to his underwater kingdom. The Human Torch, on the other hand, represented the best of humanity and a symbol of hope and progress. The battle between these two powerful beings was a spectacle of elemental forces. The Human Torch's fiery abilities clashed with Namor's control over the water. The city of New York served as its battleground, with buildings collapsing and streets flooded. The The intensity of the conflict was palpable as the two heroes unleashed their full power in order to attempt to defeat each other. Ultimately, the battle always ends in a stalemate, with Namor and the Human Torch realizing the destructive potential of their powers. This realization led to a period of uneasy peace between the two, but their rivalry would continue to shape the Marvel Universe for years to come. This battle remains as a classic tale of good versus evil, and it continues to inspire comic book fans and creators alike. It is a testament to the enduring power of the storytelling and the timeless appeal of these comics. It would later be represented in a more dramatic and cinematic way in Alex Ross's Marvels. And honestly, that title alone deserves its own separate video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The Fantastic Four's enduring legacy is a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring appeal of superhero comics. Their impact on popular culture is undeniable, and their influence can be seen in countless works of fiction. From their groundbreaking origin story to their epic battles with iconic villains, the Fantastic Four have captured the imagination of readers for generations. In future discussions, we will delve deeper into specific storylines that have shaped the Marvel Universe. Exploring iconic villains like Doctor Doom, Galactus, and many others, we'll see exactly panel by panel, page by page, how it is that a legacy is made within this medium, and how you can possibly change the world, one illustration, one word at a time. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit notifications to stay updated. Show some love, and go ahead and buy my self-published comic book series, Junket: Hidden Worlds Revealed, only on Amazon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Put the pencil on the paper and hit the drawing board. I'll see you guys next time for more art and comic related discussions. Peace out.